Good morning, traders. This is Perry Wilkie with StartUpTrading.com. It is 5 minutes till 9 a.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, September 12th. So, before we get into it, let's just peruse the news of the day real quick. So, I didn't look yet, but the ECB come out this morning with their thing. My guess, they already cut a quarter point, I believe, last go round. So, uh, I'm not sure what they did this time, but it doesn't matter. Either way, our FOMC is behind them. Uh, so then we had PPI come out. It obviously didn't do anything to the tape up here with unemployment claims as well. And then we're gonna have the ECB press conferences going on right now. I'm sure they're yapping about how the world is because they can see everything in their mystical crystal balls and they know exactly what to do all the time. So I'm sure they're comforting every investor over there in Europe at this second. So then we're going to have a 30-year bond auction at 101. The results of that auction, right? And then that could move the tape. So I would recommend being flat before this print comes out at 101. There might be a little bit of oscillation. You can always get right back in your trade or just be done for the day before then, or be on your lunch break or whatever. But no sense in carrying through this. Although it's probably going to be a non-event, it just is not worth the risk of the jostling around. Uh, Keep in mind that today is really the last day of the front month uh, on some platforms, but most of them, it's going to be tomorrow, and then we'll be rolling over to December on Monday. We have the VIX expiration on Wednesday. We have the FOMC on Wednesday, and we have the Quad Witch on Friday. So that's your big news event. So not a lot going on here. Nothing really with earnings. We'll come back to positioning here in just a second. So looking back at yesterday's tape, and as we were coming into the bell, I thought we might get a pullback into value area high or something, but I was really looking for these single prints to trade yesterday. And the market never ceases to amaze me, right? The pullback, you know, come down to under yesterday's low, pretty much stopped anyone out who had that was positioning for that at that point in time. And then what does it do? It just rips the rest of the day straight up into those targets. So basically for me, it was a stop out in the morning and just once we got above the point of control, it was just a hold and manage for me looking at those single prints and was lucky enough that they traded up there to them. But just look at the tape, just straight. This is all I should call this the check mark, right? It looks just like a check mark. If you look at yesterday, it looks like if you look at the overnight action, right, just not much. This is about two and a half times the overnight range to the downside, and then what do you have to the upside? You have about 2 times to the upside after you break out. So really like almost 3 times the range on the retracement back up. Just this happens, I would say probably once every 4 to 5 weeks that you'll see this, and either the check mark could be upside down or whatever. Maybe we'll call that, I don't know what we'll call it, but this is definitely going into the playbook as a check mark. We have seen this enough times that it needs to be a named play, and what you're looking for at that point in time. So what did that do to structure as we look back? Uh, as we look at the structure, we had single prints on everything, just one set here on the Russell, one set here on the Dow, and then we have 3 sets on each the Nasdaq and the ES, and we also have a split in the distribution right around 5,500 for the ES. So we also have this is messy structure, to be honest with you. So we also have a closing spike base and everything except for the Russell. So we'll get into that in a minute. We'll look at and see how the overnight range is. But basically that means that as long as you stay up here, it's keep away from the bears. You fall back under there, you'll probably touch some single prints. at some point in time. And then, but that is your first, back and forth line there. So looking at where we are now for the ES, we have just looked above, and we were talking about this yesterday. This high volume node, we went all the way to the other side of it. We're just now getting like a little peak above that high volume node in the overnight session. And, so far it's just right at the base of it. So it's right here, uh, you know. So, you could come back into this high volume node a little bit. You could go all the way back down to the other side of it, which would be about 55.12. Um, but basically, the next target up to the upside will be right around 55.88. That's only going to be about 24 points higher than we're currently trading. So not a lot would be that first indication. So we could just fill in this low volume node. But what I'd like to see is us go back into this low volume node or this high volume node and then pop back up above yesterday's high, and then I think you might be able to get a little bit more of a push. I don't think it's going to be difficult uh, to go, and if we just sit around here screwing around for a lot of the morning and afternoon, we could get a little bit of an afternoon pullback, right? So that's all on the table. So one thing, and the one time framing, I start this because of the cost to carry so high. I don't even look at for this type of technical analysis of the one time framing and different pivots. I basically reset this each time we get a new contract. Well, this contract only has, you know, today and tomorrow left on it, and then we'll be looking at the Z24s next. And we'll have to, mark a couple of things and just start going there from there. But these yellow boxes, this is where this contract started. So the after getting above it and below it, basically by almost equal distance, it got a little bit lower than it did higher from where this contract started as the front month, but we are still slightly below it. And then if you look at the ES, right, it is uh, slightly above it. And you look at the price action in the candles, right? If you were to, count up all these candles, how many are above them, how many are below them, blah, blah, blah. The ES really didn't spend as much time below where this contract started as the NASDAQ, right? The NASDAQ really has, uh, not done as well as far as over the last quarter. So this is basically a consolidation as far as I'm concerned on these highs, is this long-winded explanation that I'm getting to right now. And then we'll just have to see what the next contract brings. So points that I'm looking at, we broke out of the previous consolidation. The swing high is at 19,150, right? The previous consolidation base, in my opinion, started at 19,337. The overnight high is at 19,342.75. So, it's hitting this where there's a little bit more overhead supply right now in the overnight session. So this could be, just a sweep up, touch some consolidation. The ES does not have this pattern, but if you were to draw from connect all these highs as they're descending, you can see if you extend that out, you're getting close to also where you're touching that minor downtrend channel. And you could loosely go back and tie that same or very similar, right, from these highs, from the all-time high, and you're getting that downtrend channel. When we had the sell-off, the last major sell-off back in 2000, uh, right around there, you had a lot, and that it was a quick move down. But every time you got up to this downtrend channel over the next 9-10 months, uh, it was resistance. So I probably will make some effort to draw some loosely based trend, but you can do it on your chart and see where you think it is. But that needs to get over it. And the only way you can really get over it is to get back up above 19,800 to 20,000 would really, knock that downtrend out, and then, that would no longer be on the table. You can see the ES does not have that same pattern. So we'll get there. So for the ES to be at the same spot on the chart that the NASDAQ is right now, you'd have to be at 55.98 quarter right now. And you can see it's struggling right here at 55.66 basically. So I guess what I'm trying to tell you is they're both at a little bit of a decision point right now. And it will be perfectly normal for us to fade back off of this area of the chart. So I'm not gonna assume that it's a fade right now because this was a good move up yesterday, but I'm not gonna be too greedy. So what I'm expecting until we either start making traction above 19,337 or below 19,150 is that's a little bit of the range that we could trade in for now, and that's that could be all we do today. We could just bounce between them levels, and after that huge 700 point move, 746 points yesterday, we could literally just put in like 280 or less today, uh, or 180. I'm sorry. Uh, Today and really not do anything. So if on strength, I think the ES test this basically 5600. So a little bit long-winded on that chart. So ES overnight 27 points. You can see it's all above this spike base so far at 55.48. And then if we look at all the indexes, the ones that had the spike base, the Dow actually had an overnight low, a few ticks incrementally below that spike base, uh, but rejected. And then, but we really haven't went anywhere. The overnight volume I haven't even looked at yet. I'm gonna look at this on another computer screen. We've got about 200,000 contracts in the ES, 100,000 in the Nasdaq. So to me, it's marginally to the light side on the volume so far. So not a lot of traders really eager to do anything at this point. At this, that's gonna rope in some volume. I mean, so I think on a test lower, I'd like to see this 40,734 on the Dow hold. I'd like to see between these two single prints hold at 55.23 basically, or slightly above. And I would like to see at the lowest point right around 18,986 to hold for the NASDAQ. That's if these spike bases get removed. And there should be some type of a test below there. So what I think is, potential is if we come back down here, we think that let some people get flushed out of these little bit longs from the late in the day yesterday and overnight. Come down here, hit these single prints. This is where traders are screwed from yesterday, right? They didn't see this coming. Uh, so there's demand down here to bid it back up. So I'd like to see it come back down and touch some of these single prints, get a little closer to them, and then move back up above the spike base. And then I would like to, look for areas to buy. Keep in mind that the ES has some resistance that's not too far above the current prices at 55.94 to uh, 56.03 is where that is in this, and then you start you can see all the little potential resistance spots are pretty much banded together. If you can pop over this 19,386, you could get up to 19,700 and start working on these single prints. uh, we'll just have to see. I'm going to let this market, I don't usually share in this room, but I do make a zigzag study every day and look at it. So my plan is after the opening bell, I want to see a high put in, I want to see a low put in before I even think about engaging, and I want those highs and lows to be more than 65 points either way before I even think about taking a position. And that could happen quick or it could take frickin' forever. And we'll just see how that goes. So I want to look at positioning real quick before we get out of here. And I'm just going to do the cues. We have a base right here at 465. there are over 30,000 contracts. So on a first test lower, and this would get me to engage. Uh, if we come down here, this should be a limited risk trade. You have to manage it yourself. Where you think would be great to go, but 465 on a first and second touch should be support. We are currently trading 469, so this would be 160 points lower than we're currently trading right now on the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq is only up 7, 8 points at this point in time. So that'd be a hot. So you're going to see minus 150 something on the Nasdaq when this comes into play, uh, and maybe we don't get down there, but odds are that this gets tested at least one time during the session, and we'll just have to see, where that is. So if we take off, going back to the charts, if we take off that 160 points from where we're currently trading, you're looking at 140. That goes back to that 150 base, right, that we were looking at, that we thought would be perfectly acceptable to trade within. And you're looking at that point in time, uh, 140, 150, a little bit under there. You're looking at touching value area high, not even getting to these single prints yet. So I hope all this helps. You guys have a great day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.